City Small Business Podcast. We're all about connecting the folks of Johnson City to our small businesses here in our great town. And I'm your host today, Ryan McKinney. Thanks for listening. Today, I'd like to welcome to the podcast some local legends, in my opinion, Tony and Teresa Treadway of Creative Energy here in Johnson City. And they're here to share a bit of their story and their business. We'll talk some entrepreneurship, maybe some ETSU sports, and we'll talk about their involvement as advocates of the Johnson City area. So, Tony and Teresa, thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invitation.
We want to talk about some small business stuff, but sometimes I assume folks know every business that I know here in town that I'm familiar with and fond of. You know, I literally drive past Creative Energy on Hanover at least twice, maybe even 3 times a week now, just making a trip to Lowe's or something like that. But for folks that aren't familiar with Creative Energy, tell them what you do and kind of who you are.
Teresa.
That's yours.
All right. Well, let's talk about Creative Energy. We're a full service advertising and marketing, public relations, and social media firm, and we're pushing close to 30 years in business. We got our start with a small group of people with a big idea, and really our mission at the time in 1992 was to be able to do national quality advertising, national work out of Johnson City, Tennessee, because there's no better place to live, in my opinion, than Johnson City, Tennessee. And it's good to see that people from around the world are now figuring that
Right.
out. And we've got this huge rush to our beautiful area. But our vision was that we were very lucky and worked hard and have had great talents. And we began in downtown Johnson City.
Yeah.
We opened an office above, most people will know Atlantis,
Mm-hmm.
the Atlantis shop down on Main Street. That used to be a ladies' dress shop. And at the time, it was empty, as many buildings were down here. And we had the vision to say, we want to be part of downtown Johnson City. And so we rented the top floor of that building and stayed there for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then by chance, I found the door open to the King's building one day, and
Yep.
it had been abandoned since the late 80s.
Right.
And went up to the top floor and said, this is going to be our new home. We found the owner, Marvin Carter, and said, you know what? If you'll build this out, there's a great opportunity for this King's building, and we'll be your first tenant. So we were there for 7 years. So, we were part of the first Blue Plum festivals.
Oh.
We did the logo for them. We worked with Emoja Festival. I was on the Downtown Development Authority. So we worked really, really hard, probably a little bit of ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But we're as proud about our efforts to promote Johnson City. Teresa shares that pride, as we are about the success of Creative Energy.
Right. Well, and I just saw with Region Ahead, you guys winning an award at the award for your work that you guys did with Region Ahead
Right.
of bringing us together and community based and working with that. Your Unicoi County Award as well. So big proponents of everything local, it seems like.
Absolutely. And Teresa, for many years, has worked with Brenda Whitson and the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And Brenda's having success after success after success in putting Johnson City on the map. So
Right.
Teresa's really proud. Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Well, I think, it's one thing to love what you do, but it's another thing to be able to talk about and tell people how proud you are to live here,
Mhm.
to promote here. Because if you think about it, how many times do you go somewhere and some people you'd say, "Oh, where are you from?" And they'll go Johnson City, and they don't know where it is, or go,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I've been through Johnson City. I know exactly where that is," and it's so much fun. But I think the alliances that we're trying to create and pull the people of downtown Johnson City and the entire community is just amazing. And partnerships with friends at Bright Ridge, the remote workers campaign that's
Yeah.
currently running. I mean, it's crazy how much traction that we're getting. And with with our staff and the way that we're thinking, just understanding that your desk is just minutes from the next outdoor adventure that
That's
you
right.
want to experience.
Yeah, I
It's
love that
so much fun.
ad that you all put out there with like the lake and the creek right there, and the person sitting right there with their computer, just literally looking at the water side, and that's essentially what we're able to do here in Johnson City.
That's
It's
right.
amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
So take me back a bit to where it all began. Are you guys both Unicoi County residents
Well,
when you were growing up?
I grew up in a suburb of Irwin called, I went to Temple Hill Elementary
Yeah.
School and Shalaford Baptist Church.
Yeah.
But Teresa's got a much longer trek to get to Unicoi County.
So I was born on a snowy afternoon in Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay.
My folks, though, were from Irwin.
Okay.
Went to Irwin High School and all that. So my dad retired at a very young age from the Teamsters Union, and we moved back. So I actually went to high school at Unicoi County
Okay.
and had some very influential teachers in my life that kind of began to mold me into what I am today.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm kind of I consider myself to be an export, but I'm truly it. I'm just part of the family now when it comes to Tennessee.
Cold
That's right.
feet. She's still got cold feet.
That's right. It's the Alaskan reference for you guys
Yeah.
trying to follow along.
Right.
So then ETSU was next, right?
Yeah. Went to Irwin High School, knocked on the door of the local radio station and said, I want a job. And they let me mow the lawn. And I said, well, that's not my idea of the radio business.
Right.
And they said, well, hang around. And in 3 months, I had a radio gig. But went to ETSU, majored in mass communications, was on the debate team for ETSU, was on the ETSU parachute team, if you can believe
I
that.
cannot believe that.
In today's world, can you imagine?
Never seen that.
Well, I did, out of a door of a Cessna aircraft with no door, and loved that experience.
So ETSU across the front of your chest, getting to jump out of a airplane, Cessna.
Yes. Cessna aircraft.
Parachuting into
ETSU football games at Memorial Stadium. That was before the mini dome.
Right. Okay.
We would
Yeah.
have bounced off the roof of the mini dome.
Right.
But yeah, it was several games where they would land on the 50-yard line. One time, one guy in his reserve chute had the game football, so he didn't have a reserve chute.
Oh my!
He popped a reserve and handed the referee the game ball for that day's game. That's
never
going to
happen again. Right.
I don't think Scott Carter would.
I agree.
Smiling about that now, even though we've got a beautiful stadium.
Yep, that's right.
But we did have the Golden Knights jump in.
Okay.
But went to ETSU and then was a double major. I was a political science major and worked a year with the Tennessee legislature.
Okay.
So that was my ETSU experience.
And then you were there too, Teresa?
I was there too. Sadly, my direction in life kind of changed. So I like to affectionately say that I'm from the school of hard licks and that my learning has been on the job training pretty much from the day that we started. Because I had actually gone back to school to be a nurse and it just didn't work that way.
Okay.
And I tell people, in this life, it doesn't matter what you go to school for or where the path leads you. You just have to be open and receptive to just take what you're handed.
That's it. And
learn and be the sponge. And I couldn't tell you anything about marketing, but I did know about money and I did know about banking and I did know about legal stuff. So, and HR. So I was kind of made for that position when I went to work for Tony. So, and the rest is history now. And, we, manage a multi-million-dollar company.
There you go.
And 35 employees and all the changing times that occurs with that.
So you guys opened in 92. So I work with my wife, right, in our field. What advice, you guys have been doing it longer than we have. What advice do you give us? What advice do you give to somebody who's listening, who works with their spouse on a daily basis to make sure that you still want to go to Hilton Head together next weekend?
My rule of thumb is don't talk about family at work and don't talk about work while you're home with your family.
Okay.
And if you can keep that separation, then you don't get a lot of noise in between. You can kind of segment it somewhat.
Yeah. Because we still come home, at the end of the day when we've come home, and we'll say, well, we'll tell what was the best part of your day? Because we all have days
Sure.
where, everything's not great. And sometimes the best part of your day may be just sitting down across from your spouse and going, this is the best part of my day
Mhm.
right
Sometimes,
Right.
now.
yeah.
But then other times, it's like, oh, his office is down the hall from
Yeah.
me. And so there will be days literally that I will not see him all day. And so we won't even have the the clue on what we've been doing all day. And I'll say, oh, I have to tell you about this because we had something really big happen yesterday. I was so excited because we had something else going on late last night, and I just wanted to come home and tell him about it. I was so excited. So even though, and that could happen in any job,
Right.
but I think you have to find that level of enjoyment that you have with your spouse. And and we had kids too and all that, and that would be, I think, the best thing you can
Thank you.
say.
This
Yeah.
is an opportunity. Sometimes I get to selfishly pull
A little bit
wisdom
of wisdom,
from
yeah.
my guests. So
You can come and sit on my couch in my office. I got a great chair and a box of Kleenex if you get
there we go.
desperate. Yeah.
Yes.
Teresa's known as Mother Teresa because
Okay.
she's got this, and it's a great piece of the reason that we've done well is Teresa is a very caring person, and she kind of serves as the HR person at the agency. And a lot of times people come in there and basically sit on her couch and talk through some problems, and people love her for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people just want people to listen.
Absolutely.
And and that happens in our day-to-day job with our clients too. I don't know if you experience that
Yes.
because they're frustrated with a lot of things. And I think that sometimes people just need to talk through stuff, whether it's personal or in their business or whatever. And it helps you grow as a person too, I
I think
feel.
so too. From a this may sound not the right way to say it, but from a male perspective, I just want to solve the problem, right?
Mhm. Yeah, you got it.
Sarah comes to me with a problem, or somebody comes to me with a problem. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we'll just fix it. And I've learned over the last few years that maybe it's not needing fixed. Maybe they just
Wanna
need you to
hear.
hear. And then I read and I listen to Gary Keller saying, the opportunity as leaders is to then help other leaders to think for themselves to make their own decision.
That's right.
That's creating leaders with you
Mhm.
to where that's a great
Yeah.
lesson from
And
from what
and
know.
that's a philosophy that I've told our staff for a long time is that they don't work for me. They work with me
Yeah, I love that.
until they put themselves in a position to where you work for me. And then it's usually an unhappy conversation.
Yeah, right.
But I think if you know that you're part of a team,
Yeah,
that, I think if, because everybody's kind of on the same playing field if you're all digging the ditch
right.
together. And we are every day.
Yeah.
You're building, you've got to build a house in a day. You really have to.
Right.
And so we're all part of that team. And while you do have to have a leader, everybody's best qualities come out along the road. And
Yeah.
I think I think that's the stuff that I enjoy the most, especially with our younger talent and how you nurture them and encourage them. And they do that for me as well. Because
Yeah.
you just see them grow and flourish. And it's like, wow, and you watch it happen in a matter of days, months, or a couple of years. And you're like, wow, I can remember. And I actually did that just on something else today. I was sending
Right.
an email too. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point because one of the reasons creative energy is here, that was part of our mission. We wanted to make sure that local people who were super talented got to do national quality work.
Right. And I see that just seeing the LinkedIn profiles of the folks that
Mhm.
work with you guys, right? And my Facebook friends, and it's
Yeah.
like creative energy, ETSU, creative energy, it's at least half, I would say,
More,
of
yeah.
more than
Mhm.
that of
Yeah.
your team who are ETSU grads or local folks who have become young professionals and then grown up here with us and
Mhm.
been able to have the opportunity to stay here and
I think
provide.
most people recognize what a value that ETSU has.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people don't know the kind of folks that are coming out of the Bachelor of Fine Arts program or MassCom or the digital media, which is stellar.
Yeah.
Um, it's a great resource that we can take. I had a conversation the other day, and I'm saying, what high school did you go to? I went to Cherokee High School.
Yeah.
Or I went to Elizabethton High
Right.
School, and it gives me great joy to know that because I'm a little guy from Irwin,
Right.
and we've given them a platform to be successful. Some of them moved on and work for big agencies now.
Sure.
Some of them we're lucky enough to hang on to.
Right.
We love every one of them. And uh, we try to set you up for success. If you don't succeed, I'm not so sure that it's not your fault if you don't succeed because with Teresa
Yep.
and the opportunities we give people, it's a great place to work.
Yeah.
I hope.
I
I
love it.
hope people feel that way.
And then you look at the partners that you guys have had over the
Mhm.
years, right? Going back to 92, we were just talking about Piggly Wiggly and pals.
Yeah.
Um, so what were those first pitch presentations like for you guys when you're going in and they're saying, okay, you guys are the startup, now you've got almost 30 years experience. And so you go into any agency around here or you're talking to any company around here, they've got an idea of who Creative Energy is now. Back then, what was your pitch going into the Piggly Wiggly and going into Mr. Barger at Pals and saying, here's how we can help you?
I think a lot of it is they had to believe in us as people. And that was a whole big piece of it. The second piece was we delivered on what we said that we would do. We're going to grow your business. We're going to build your brand. You're making X dollars a month now in sales. A year from now, it's going to be X, X, X. You don't stick around long if you lose money for people, right?
Right.
No matter how
Absolutely.
much they like you,
Right.
So we've really built a business around building cult brands like a Pals,
Yeah.
Pals.
There you go.
Um, World renowned fast food agency, and we
Yeah.
pay a little tiny piece of that. It's the hard work of the people at Pals to do it.
Sure.
But Teresa, why don't you chime in on your thoughts on how we hang on to clients so long?
Well, I think we, and it's really hard because a lot of clients come in and they think they know what they want or what they need.
Absolutely. Right.
And when you really start drilling down on it, and our process starts with a creative brief. What's the single most important thing? Or you start going asking all these hard questions to people. And I think what you really find out is that what they think they need, it might be just a small piece of what they need. And so I think that's what's really cool about it, and actually asking them to believe in our thoughts and our processes, because you really can't
Right.
put a dollar figure on creativity, right?
Sure.
I mean, you think about the person that created the Nike swoosh,
Right.
or created Tony Baroni that created the Pals crazy building and everything. You cannot put a value on that.
Right.
So when you're coming with creative processes and things that you're trying to help provide a solution, and I like to use it, they don't have a problem, they have a challenge, and you're providing them with a solution to that. And I think what happens is that we always like to come in with what we call a safety,
Okay.
what the client may expect.
Okay.
Then you have, okay, we're going to push the envelope just a little bit more. And then we're going to push the envelope just a little bit more,
Right.
understanding that we're going to achieve, or our goal is to, come up with a solution
Yeah.
to whatever the challenge may be. And you would be surprised at how many times sometimes that what the safety is here, but it's kind of the good, better, best kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll slide on in and go, wow, I never thought about it that way.
Sure. You changed my perspective.
Right. Because, they're in their, excuse me, they're in their bubble all the time.
Yeah.
And we're not.
Right.
And I think that's the challenge, that sometimes the frustrations that we have when you have companies that have internal agencies, because they live in that bubble all day long.
Yep.
And they hear the same things, they talk the same talk, and they live, eat, and breathe it. Well, then somebody that's just on the outside, their whole thought process is different.
Right.
And I think that that's why that with the pals, which working with them for so many years, is that we have to continually exceed their expectations and executions, because there's only so many ways that you can make and sell a hamburger, because at the end of the day, it's still a hamburger, and that's
Right.
what you want.
Yeah.
And I think that those are the type things that how we hang on to them. I think we we really provide value in thought. I think sometimes we provide, more in the just the overall thought process that we may not charge them for,
Yeah.
but we legitimate, all we have to sell is time. So,
Sure.
hey, guess what? But we don't care if you're thinking about it on the weekends or something inspires you and you're banging it out through a text. And we're always on now. That's what technology's done for us.
Right.
You're really never away.
If you can get with, if you can work with a client where they feel as though you are part of their team and not a vendor,
Right.
Hmm.
then you can have a long relationship as long as you deliver on your promises.
Right.
And, there's so much more to a pal's experience than just the burger itself.
Right.
It's the speed of service, it's the courtesy, it's the groomed personnel, it's the clean grounds. I mean, there's so many parts of the Pals brand that it's incredible. I mean, they're one of the most amazing companies I've ever met.
And as your all's role in their advertiser, it's your opportunity to not only pick out great hamburger,
Mhm.
amazing fries,
Hmm.
shake and tea, but those 99.9% accuracy and
Right.
speed and things like that.
Right.
And they've even been an influence even on, how we've run our business and how we look at our
Tell
culture.
me about
And
that.
well, I mean, PAL's mission statement is no matter what, you want to delight the customer every time. Well, we have internal customers inside our company as well
Sure.
that we have to take care of. And, it's also learning to treat people with respect, understanding, looking at both sides of the table, having a good and supportive work environment, trying to provide elements of training or things that, that they have an interest in, allowing them to have input on how we can make our processes better.
Mhm.
And that's the PALS model. It's
Yeah.
all the PALS model. And while I think before, even though we grew with PALS as along, because when we first started with them, they had 5 stores. Now
Yeah.
they have 30. But we have adopted because we've appreciated that their influence on us, and I think that that influence has helped me help other clients because of it, because it works.
Yeah. I went to a leadership academy. Tom Crosby's
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
spoke at it, and he said their shift came when they stopped thinking of themselves as just food and hospitality, but then manufacturing and operations as
Right.
Mhm.
well. And that was a
Lot
light
goes on.
bulb for us as well in our operations of, yes, we're in a certain industry, and yet a lot of it is system
Mhm.
and process
Yeah.
and
And
operations.
we've learned that from him. I mean, there's nothing could be more messy than the creative process
Yeah.
if you don't
Right.
have a process.
Yeah.
So we learned from him, and there's a very step by step process within our company now because of
That's great.
them that turns an idea into a campaign that
Right.
Yeah.
works.
And I think with us, as we have grown and we've hired a few people, and understanding that honestly, a lot of the people that we have hired have no agency experience, but those that have, they've been influential in our process as
Right.
well. And we watch other people too. I mean, if we don't watch our competitors, we would be crazy.
Right.
But yeah, but it's like I said, you got to learn something every day and learn from your challenges.
I wholeheartedly agree. What will your vision continue to be with creative energy? What are you guys looking to do and
Well,
go?
our point of difference is we build cult brands, and there's only certain kinds of companies that can be cult brands. And it's
Mhm.
really not because of the product, it's because of the leadership and what kind of thought process they put into it. I mean, how can a paperclip be a cult brand?
Right.
But, a Pals can, you know, a Texas Pete hot sauce can,
Mhm.
Green Mountain Gringo salsa can. So if you do the right process, you can build a cult brand. Well, why do I want to be a cult brand? Because you get brand loyalty.
Right.
It's It's the Charmin bathroom tissue. It's the go-to brand that you always go to. That brand loyalty makes you, as a cult brand, more profitable
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because I don't have to constantly worry about me losing customers to somebody else. They're
Right.
there,
Yep.
you know, a Pal's customer, uh, 3 to 4 to 5, even 9 times more than national competitors. I mean, if you go to Pal's, you go there every day, because there's nothing better. Why do you waste your time?
Right.
So that's our point of difference. And we want to keep sharing that point of difference with other clients. And, we'll continue doing a national and local focus in that regard.
Speaking of local focus, one of my favorite ones of this year was the Bank of Tennessee, because that's where we bank.
Mhm.
But the Green Ribbon Awards and
Mhm.
all that
Yep.
was just, to me, it was very appropriate, and yet it was also very humbling in a way I could see for them,
Mhm.
because they were like, these are the people that we are helping,
Mhm.
these businesses, through
Right.
the PPP loans and things like that.
Well, and they really wanted it to be more about the customers.
Yeah.
They were just a part
Right.
of a solution to help people.
Yeah.
And I think that, it was while we were still in the thick, well, when we filmed it, I mean, we were just kind of still figuring out what was going to happen and
Right.
how this was all going to work. But I think we're taking the most important thing is you're taking an everyday person who chooses to be a small business owner, and small business drives America. I
Yep.
don't care. I'm
Right.
sorry. We're
Yep.
small business. You're
Yep.
small business. But I think the most important thing at the end of the day is that we're still, taking care of our family. We still have bills to pay, and we were taking a pretty big brunt of that.
Yeah.
And Bank of Tennessee was so passionate because they truly love their business and commercial customers
Yep.
that they wanted to do anything they could to help them succeed. And for them as a bank, and if you don't bank at Bank of Tennessee, y'all should, because they do care.
Yeah.
They really do care. And you even had some of the bigger players who were like, yeah, I'm not even going to waste my time with that stuff. It's not worth the trouble. It's not worth the effort. But you had Bank of Tennessee people that were working 18 and 20 hours a
Yes. You're
day
right.
helping them because we knew that you had this window
This
of
window.
time.
Right.
This is all the money. And if you better get in
You better get it
early,
done right.
and who else what other big bank is going to help you do that?
Yeah.
That's why a community slash, we call them super regional because they're
Okay.
in
Yeah.
Nashville and in Knoxville, but they're still invested in every community that they're in, and they
Right.
want to continue that. And yeah, I was so proud of that campaign and our staff that was part of that. And they bought into it, and it was so I remember the first time that I watched it, I just sat there and big tears were running
Yeah,
down my
Yeah.
cheeks, and I'm like, oh
because
Right.
my
everyone
gosh.
was so torn up by the
Right.
pandemic and what it
Yeah.
was doing to small business, and to see the hope and the joy
Yeah.
in those small business customers. And then you end it with the vet with the large poodle with the pink hair. That just said it all. Because every small business has its own personality and it's worth saving,
Right.
Yeah.
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 Which also COVID created Try Kindness from you guys that you guys
Yes.
launched.
That was his baby.
Talk about that.
This is March. We had
Yeah.
just told employees on March 13th, we call ourselves jackalopes.
Okay.
If you're a creative energy employee, you're a jackalope. I said, jackalopes running a herd here.
They're a flag of
And
deep.
and we're going to turn the herd loose. We're not
Yeah.
running in a herd anymore. And I trust that we're going to be professionals and we're going to hang together and we're going to come together. I have never been so proud of anybody in my life. I mean, the next day we've got brand executive meetings at 8:15. We've got creative meetings at 9 o'clock. I mean, kaboom. And as far as meeting deadlines and keeping hope alive, we never missed a beat. So, but I did have frustration and fear about the future. So I said,
Absolutely.
what am I going to do? So let's try a little kindness. And so in the course of a week to 10 days, and I'm calling Paula Jackson at
Yep.
JHL, and I'm calling Steve Flint at CYB. And I said, we got to do something. I don't have money to give you to buy commercials. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And so, boom, we do Try Kindness. That brought the eye of Andy Dietrich,
Yep.
who was doing Region Ahead.
Yep.
So then we got tied in with Region Ahead, and we did the small business campaign.
Yep.
And raised more than $250,000. And then people weren't wearing their masks, and we had this huge spike. So we did Wear Your Mask campaign.
Yep.
And then most recently, we were identified by Lottie Ryans at First Tennessee Development District. She goes and gets a $500,000 grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of Tennessee.
Of course, only Lottie would.
Only Lottie. I mean, Lottie. Oh my goodness. She has been such a resource for this area.
Yeah.
And so that's currently running. And we started out doing all of that work for this amount of money. So it's just part of being a member of the community.
Yeah.
Johnson City's been awful good to me. Unicoi County has been good to Teresa and I. We love living here. It's just part of it. You pitch in, you know,
Right. Yeah.
and you try to do something good.
Right. Sorry, I hit that mic, Leighton. So what's next? In 2009, 2010, I remember Roadrunners kind of beefing up their social media and working with Creative Energy, and you saying this social media stuff's not going away.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's never going away. What sort of things are trending in not only the advertising world, but in Creative Energy's world?
Well, I think our biggest challenge right now is just when you figure out how to do some things, everything changes.
Yeah.
I think the new privacy application that's come through from Apple and others now on how you, from digital space, on how you're receiving your ads, again, it's you used to, and back in the day when I'm just going to run some TV commercials and people are going to see it and they're going to come to my store, or they're going to hear my radio commercial, or they're going to see my billboard. Well, we all know that that all changed as the internet came, and then digital became, social came, and then digital came, and it just keeps expanding. And now with AI, which is really scary and crazy all at the same time, is you're meeting your customer where they are.
Right.
But now they're going, yeah, we're going to pull that. They're opening the funnel back up. And the challenge is you may be seeing ads that don't really apply to you. Or you can say, yeah, you could continue to follow me based on my habits, on my viewing habits, on the apps that I use and everything. So, because that's the key buying point in digital.
Sure.
You pull them as far down the funnel. Okay, well, you want to do this, and this, or you like to do this, or this is where you go, or they know what you do. Well, it's not as easy anymore as it used to be. And I think that's our biggest challenge. And then when you do, it costs more.
Yeah.
And so we're having to be more creative all the time. Is how do you spend those budgets in order to capture a variety of consumers that you're trying to reach, and to get them to buy your product, to engage with you? Because sometimes you just want that.
Right.
For us, I think that, he loves new business. He loves just getting in there and just, scratching and everything. And I think as long as we enjoy doing what we're doing, we're going to keep doing it. Some days are harder than others, but we still love getting up and coming to work every morning, and discovering something new, meeting new people, meeting new clients, solving new challenges.
Right.
One of the things that keeps me excited is we've got a great team in video storytelling. So they can tell a story without an announcer ever coming into the video. They just let people talk.
Like the
Yeah.
green ribbon, never
Right.
said a word.
Yep.
Yeah, there was no words in that spot.
That's right.
How do you tell a story that's believable and authentic? Well, you let the people tell their story, right? We are masters at that. And I think that is going to be an important part as this digital age evolves to privacy. And it's going to change people's attitudes about advertising. Everybody got hooked on digital because you can count clicks.
Right.
Okay. But you're getting into a very narrow focus in that. I think video, television, radio that's got a broad reach has its place in a marketing plan. If you just do social, you're not going to be as successful.
Right.
You may feel good about it and you do great work and you get a lot of clicks. We're about making the cash register money.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
clicks you don't get paid for clicks.
Right.
It's an important benchmark.
Sure.
Ultimately, our clients judge us based on brand loyalty and increased sales. So that will be the big challenge. Is we're going to have to kind of move the metrics, that
Yeah.
whole thing a little bit. You know,
Well, and I like what you guys say as business people, we're always learning, we're always labbing, and we're always evolving. And it's like you said, as soon as you figure it out, something's changing.
Yeah.
But I also respect your all's video storytelling in that I feel that whether it's in person, you're sitting at a dinner party and somebody's telling a story that's just captivating, right?
Mhm.
And then you put video to that, and now you've got two mediums, whether they're just talking, but once they start to visualize that story, it just puts it to another level. So there's a lot of respect from this side of the table for your all's ability to do that, just
Well,
as a consumer.
you can thank some very talented people that we're lucky enough to work with for that.
So, what is the best way for people to learn about creative energy, connect with you, find your brands, establish this cult following for some of these products that you guys represent?
Well, obviously, you can find us as far as our work is concerned at synergy.com, and that's CENERGY.com. It's short for creative energy. We're on all the social platforms, LinkedIn. All of our staff aren't there. They have LinkedIn, social, Twitter, Instagram. TikTok is coming.
Are
Many
you
of
on
our
TikTok, Teresa?
Oh no, I'm not on TikTok. But he gets a big kick out of it.
Yeah.
He laughs and enjoys TikTok. But many of our clients are now
Yeah.
getting heavily involved in TikTok, and I'm still interested to see how that's going to influence sales.
Yeah.
If it's just brand loyalty.
Right.
But of course, we're still at 3206 Hanover Road. We've been there ever since. So there's somebody there in Johnson City, usually from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. We don't,
Yeah, or 6:30 a.m.
just depends on the day.
If you
What
want
time
to
you get in.
follow what we're thinking,
Yeah.
we've got a section on there under it. It's the nav is news, but it's a blog, and everyone's involved in the agency, so you're getting a perspective from media buying, public relations, social media. Uh, if you're a student of the game, um, I think for people who are looking at an ad agency and you look at their blog and they haven't added a blog post in 6 months, they're not thought leaders. And that's one of the things that we work hard on is being a thought leader. So if you like advertising, marketing, follow us at cenergy.com.
Okay. That sounds great. Well, Tony, Teresa, that about wraps up our time
Fun.
here
Thank you.
together
Oh.
on the podcast. I want to thank you guys. This is always fun. It's a treat for
Thanks.
me. So, I want to thank the listeners as well, and obviously thank Market Street Media and Leighton Hart, who's responsible for romancing your ears today. And I want to say big thanks to everybody who's a part of this podcast. So, this is the Johnson City Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McKinney. And until next time, keep living your life by design.